I'll start with 2 words.
There we go.
Because it just came out. Russell Brand.
Wow. Okay, so instantly, I haven't read into the case. I'm very big on having to actually read the cases. But the first thing I thought when I saw that this morning in the news, when it said 1999,
Yes.
was like very scary. You know, it's a conversation that you immediately want to open up because I'm going 1999. I was 10 years old when this alleged crime took place. And I have not looked at any of the evidence, so I'm not here to enter in a verdict, but just in general, it opens up a conversation about, I think, the statute of limitations, right? Because you're going, can something happen that long ago? How do you prove that you were there, anything? This is the land before Facebook, Twitter, X, before smartphones. How can you?
Well, don't you assume, and maybe the wrong word is assume, but don't you assume that because this alleged crime happened in between 1999 and I think she said 2004, and I don't know if it's one person or if it's a couple of people. Mm-hmm. I'm not well read on this particular thing, just the headlines. But first of all, I don't believe in statute of limitations. I think if you do something wrong, then you should pay the price. And if it takes forever to find enough evidence to make that happen, so that the proper punishment can be laid out, then that's okay. You know, but that being said, I would imagine that they were garnering, watching and being a fan of crime television, the amount of evidence that you have to gather to even make a case seems to be, if it's not a civil case, to make a real case.
A criminal case.
A criminal case seems to be like...
Is it a criminal case?
Yeah, wasn't it the...
I'm not sure.
They can bring charges even if it's a civil case. Charges
but it's
don't
not.
mean...
Can you see who's...
Yeah.
Is this the same person that came out? It was a while ago that there were allegations against him that he was trying to say were not accurate. Is this the same person that brought those allegations
I don't
previously?
know, and that's why I have to do a deep dive because it all happened this morning, and normally, and that's why I'm very cautious to say anything right now because I need to look into the cases. The only thing I would push back on, Howie, is just... Today, you can bring forth a case and have nothing. Like, this is a different world post Me Too than it was before. And I just don't know. I have no facts. I'm just operating on when I saw the date. I was like, that's a very long time ago. But I would agree with you, and that's why I say it opens up a conversation about the statute of limitations. If this person filed this back in 1999 and, I don't know, technology changed, you're able to discover it, whatever it is, then you go, of course, there should be no statute of limitations when you reported the crime right when it happened. But do you believe there should be no statute of limitations, like, as in you can report the crime from 1999? Because then I think that's not how, I guess I'll ask the question, I'm not going to say it's not fair. How fair is it for people to be able to produce their defense, is what I'm saying. If you didn't even bring about the allegation until 30 years later, and you're going, hey, I drove a different car, I don't have my phone, I don't have anything to be able to defend myself or disprove this, that's where I think it gets a little choppy. But I don't know, this person could, for all I know, have brought this up in 1999, and then we're looking at something that I think would be fair if they've...
I believe that sometimes, I would imagine, I'm not a woman, but I would imagine, I'm a girl dad, I would imagine that, no, but sometimes things happen and you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the opportunity, you are so fucked up at the moment that you don't bring charges, or you don't report it, and then at a later date you realize something happened, or you realize that something was wrong. Is that not fair? This
is why I really wish I was operating with more facts here, because I have 3 sons, and so the way that you're like, I have a daughter too, but I also have 3 sons, and so instantly I'm going, wow, I just 25 years later, okay, you could have lived so many different lifetimes in 25 years. Again, she may have reported this when this happened. I have no idea.
But what I'm questioning, if she didn't,
then I think it would be very difficult to prepare a defense. Where were you 25 years ago? Right?
Wouldn't it be just as difficult for her to...
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, to have a case.
That's why we have to look at the case, though, because there have been so many instances in the post-Me Too era where we are kind of politicizing trials. We are kind of getting into this vibe where it's like, well, hashtag believe women. It's kind of a scary hashtag. Like hashtag, if I just said it was like hashtag believe men, like, whoa, 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 can we believe facts? I don't know. Like, let's make sure. And that's all I'm saying.
But isn't that what
don't
the
know-
court is supposed to
That's
do?
what
I
they're
mean, we're not
supposed to do.
supposed to really be
You are
discussing.
correct. Courtrooms get crazy. And that's just a fact. Courtrooms get crazy. And they allow things sometimes in the name of social justice. And I want to be clear, because you never know. One of these victims could be watching this. Like, none of us have looked at the facts of this case, so we are kind of speaking about this absent facts and kind of just talking about the statute of limitations in general and our reaction to first seeing the news. I can't wait to get into it, because I do know that he did suffer from addictions, and he's talked about that. So it is totally plausible that he was just this like crazy maniac and did terrible things to people. It's an interesting time in his life now, because we're talking 25 years ago. More than 25 years ago. Russell Brand's a different person. Wouldn't excuse, by the way, if he did, like, if he went to a woman down the alley, we wouldn't be like, oh, well, now he's found God. Like, so it doesn't matter. That would obviously still hold. But the timing of that is sort of why he was in the public eye for so long. Why not go to the press and say, this guy did this? These are the questions that instantly popped into my head, but I reserve total judgment, because she may have done everything right for all we know.
And I think that even if she didn't do everything right, I also understand why somebody wouldn't come forward. Mm-hmm. And I'm not negating what we're saying, but even this conversation that we're having right now is, if somebody is listening to, is the reason that somebody might not want to come forward.
I think we're having a fair conversation. I think we're going. I think we're being fair to both sides. We're saying we haven't read it.
I think you are.
Yeah.
I think that what you're saying, these words are fair to both sides, but these words, every word really lands differently based on whatever the experience is of the person that is hearing the word.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a victim, a real live victim, hearing some of these words would be kind of a little more standoffish about coming forward.